Welcome back to NANO AQUASCAPEing. My name is Logan, and today I'm going to show you how to set up a tiny little desktop aquarium using this beautiful UNS 3N. It's only 3 gallons, so it's the perfect tank to put on really any type of surface, which is why I'm using it for my desktop. And we're going to be setting this up as a classic Iwagumi using the dry start method. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is lay down a generous substrate layer. Today I'm working with the UNS Controsoil, and this is a complete substrate layer, so it provides everything that the plants need. You don't need any other additives. So when I lay down this substrate, I like to slope things slightly toward the back to create that enhanced sense of depth. This is a technique called forced perspective, and it makes the tank look like it has a lot more depth than it actually does, so I highly recommend doing that. Once the substrate was in place, it was time to get to one of the coolest parts of setting up an aquarium, and that's the hardscaping process. And today I am working with the beautiful mountain stone. I got this from Boost Plant, and it's an awesome stone to use in a tiny little nano desktop aquarium because it's super duper light, so you can get a lot of it for not too much money, but it's incredibly detailed, way more than lava stone. So it's just absolutely beautiful. Just be careful when working with it. It is relatively sharp and jagged, so make sure you don't make contact with the glass. So we're gonna be setting up a classic Iwagumi today. So the first thing we want to do is find our mother stone, and typically the mother stone is the rock that is the largest and has a really good amount of character and draws the eye. So I spent quite a few minutes selecting my mother stone, and once I did select it, I found that it looked best on the right third of the tank. So I placed it slightly behind the mid-ground area so that it would really draw the eye to that key position. Once the mother stone was in place and supported by the soil, it was time to get the secondary supporting stone in place. So that secondary stone provides a combination of visual and also structural support to the layout. A lot of times your mother stone might be really heavy and it might be falling over slightly, so you can use that secondary stone to provide that kind of support and also draw the eye a little bit, because rarely do we see things in nature that are super duper heavy isolated. They're usually supported by other structures. So that's what we're achieving right here. So you'll notice that this secondary stone is pointing in the opposite direction of the mother stone. And what that does is it creates a lot of tension and immediately makes the scape look interesting. Additionally, it's slightly behind the mother stone, so being a little bit smaller, more detailed, it adds that enhanced look of depth. Now that the hardest work is done, it's time to add some supporting stones on both the left and right of the aquarium. And you really want to pay attention to the angles and the direction of the stones when you're adding them. Add much smaller stones up front so that the larger stones look a lot bigger, and try and have them facing in similar angles and directions as the stones that they're supporting. So once the hardscape was complete, it was time to take a step back, and I'm happy to say that I'm really in love with this. It's super duper simple, so any of you can recreate this with really any type of hardscape. But if you want to recreate exactly what I did, head on over to boostplant.com. They've got this type of stone as well as many others over there. I'll be linking everything down below in the description. So now it's time to plant, and I've decided to use the relatively easy carpeting plant, Micranthemum Monte Carlo. And I love Monte Carlo because it carpets fairly quickly, it's relatively low maintenance, it grows at a reasonable rate, and if you're the type of person who doesn't want to mess with CO2, you can still get decent results with MC. Now I will be using CO2 as well as decent lighting, but if you want to give it a try without, a lot of hobbyists do report some success in a lower tech environment with Monte Carlo. Don't necessarily try that with something like HC Cuba. So in order to achieve instant impact and that fully grown in look today, I'm using a total of 3 cups of Micranthemum Monte Carlo. These are the UNS tissue culture cups, so they're snail-free, pest-free, algae-free, and they may look small, but they're really densely packed cups. So what I did was I chopped up the 3 cups into small little clumps and then planted them as evenly throughout the tank as possible. And I'm happy to say that it already looks about 90% grown in. So in about 4 to 5 weeks, the plants will spread out, they'll be fully rooted, and we'll have a really nicely carpeted look. Now remember, if you're on a budget, you can get by with way less than I'm using here. You can absolutely, for this little 3N, just get by with a single cup of Monte Carlo. As long as you break it up into teeny tiny little pieces and spread it out as much as possible, then it's just a matter of being patient. As you can see, we're doing a dry start here, so you'll have to just let the plants grow in and spread out, and before you know it, everything will be fully carpeted, and your planting budget at 1 cup would only be about $10. Now the light I'm using today is the ONF Flat Nano, and this is a white LED light. It's dimmable, it has 4 different levels, and it works really good with greenery because white LEDs tend to have spikes in the green, which means it's gonna really bring out the green hues in the tank. So it's just the perfect choice for this classic Iwagumi. After everything was fully planted, I misted the plants. You want the soil to be wet and moist, but not overly saturated. Just wet the soil with some distilled water until beads of water run down and hit the bottom. You do not want any sort of puddles or complete saturation. And then you'll cover it with saran wrap and let it sit. Put the light on for 12 hours a day. Every single day, you'll open it for a few minutes, spray the plants again, very, very lightly, less is more, close it back up, and repeat every day until you're ready to flood the tank. So I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, but do me a favor, let me know down below in the comments what type of Caridina shrimp you think I should add to this tank. I already have crystal reds in my other tank, so I wanna try something new in this one, and I'm gonna keep it shrimp only. So let me know down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys and gals next time.